Lay. Sir. Yeah. Yeah.
Kane is in the building.
Alright, already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on. Alright, already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when you come up, the show goes on.
Have you ever had the feeling that you was being had? Don't that shit that make you mad? They treat you like a slave, put chains all on your soul and put whips up on your back. They be lying through they teeth, hope you slip up off your path. I don't switch up, I just laugh, put my kicks up on they desk, unaffected by they threats. Then get busy on they see, that's how that shit tell me, man. That's how my daddy raised me. That glittering may not.
What's up, everybody? This is the Overseas Famous podcast. We have a very interesting show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Who wants to be an overseas famous intern? That is our show today. We have four incredible young people, as we were just talking about. I am not. So we have four incredible young people joining us from Duquesne University. Obviously, we have Jon. How are you, Jon?
Doing good, brother. This is
Nice.
a pretty neat project we got going.
It is. And obviously, Michela Hall. Michela, what's up?
What's up? I'm really excited. This is like when worlds collide and I get
It really is.
people together and show off how proud I am of all of you.
I love it. So Michela's going to run this through real quick. I did get my second vaccine today. So if at any point during the show I just like fall flat in my face and you don't see me, just keep rolling, keep running. You guys can kind of run the show. I'll be fine. No need to call a hospital or anything.
How you feeling? Are you all right?
I feel completely fine, but they say it hits you hard. So I'll be just sitting here talking and I'll just like fall over my chair. Just keep right on going with your stuff. No need to worry about the old man. I'll be fine. But yeah, so far, no problems whatsoever.
All right.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like just everyone's like, you're going to die. And I was like, oh God. And then feel nothing.
If you fall over, I'll probably like feel it in the ground at my house.
Yeah, so seriously, and they'll feel it in Duquesne. They'll be like, what the fuck? What was that? Sorry, no cursing. All right. All right, Michela, take it away.
Don't worry, Kevin. I've said worse under my breath in the studio. They've all heard. Great. So this is just like a great collaboration, in my opinion, just because I'm so proud of the work that, Duquesne Student Television does. And, these kids are like the epitome of what's the next generation of like sports media. They're going to be great journalists, broadcasters, content creators. And so thank you guys for being here. I have a lot of pride in the sports media kids also, because that was what I got my bachelor's in. It's actually, I picked there's the diploma. Oh my God, great. All the debt. It smells like debt. But I'm just like really proud of the work I've done with both of you guys. And to get these kids some real kids, I shouldn't say kids, you're not that much younger than me, to give some real world experience.
They're a lot younger than me, so go ahead.
To get some real world experience for you guys. And they're going to school us in some stuff too. Because all of them have either been on a podcast or have their own independent projects going. So I'm really excited to take everyone back to school tonight. So first, I just want to start with some intros. I think, we know who I am. We know who Kevin and Jon are. But I would like to go through the students we have here. If you could just, your name, your major, stuff that you're working on independently or with DSTV. Take a minute to brag about yourselves. You've earned your spot here. So let's start with Elena.
Hey everyone, my name's Elena. I just found out today I'm a senior. I'm graduating early this December.
Nice.
Pretty exciting. Gonna save some money. Pretty cool. But I'm a double major in integrated marketing, communications, and sports information and media. I'm originally from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, pretty small town, about 2 hours outside of Pittsburgh. And I also interned for the Pittsburgh Pirates as well as the NAHL junior hockey team, which is called the Johnstown Tomahawks. So that's a little bit about me.
That's super cool. Anything with like, I like the professional sports angle, kind of going in and interning. we'll talk more about it, but I think that's like super cool just to kind of, we'll riff off that in a little bit.
Let's just go in alphabetical order. Brentero.
Yeah, hi, my name is Brentero Yamne. I'm currently a sophomore here at Duquesne University. I'm double majoring in sports information media and multi-platform journalism. I'm from 20 minutes south from the city of Pittsburgh. As of right now, I'm doing work with Michela at Duquesne Student Television. I'm a staff writer for the school's newspaper called the Duquesne Duke. And I also co-host a podcast called Cover 3 Athletics. And that podcast, I basically try and find high school athletes from mostly in the Western Pennsylvania area, but I've gone in contact with some athletes from throughout the whole country that are really well known. And I just talk to them about what's it like being a high school athlete and just the recruiting process and all that. So, yep, that's all about me.
That's super cool. Recruiting process. We talk a lot about that here. That was a doozy of a time. Like I said, many years ago.
All right, Camden, you're up.
My name is Camden Euler. I'm a freshman here at Duquesne in the Sports Information and Media Department, and as well as doing the broadcast with Michela and DSTV. I also co-host a podcast with Dom called the North Shore Station, and then I host my own podcast as well with a buddy back home that his name's Brian Cathell. That we call it the CMB Sixers podcast, where every week we sit down and talk about Sixers basketball, everything we like, what we don't like, old memories and stuff like that we watched growing up back in the day, watching them. So that's been really fun to start up recently.
Nice. So Sixers fan, I like that.
Huge, yeah.
Is it tearing you up that we're currently recording this in like the fourth quarter of a close?
It's right above me. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I see.
So if you see me looking up, that's what I'm looking at.
I'm with you. I'm right there with you. That's awesome, though.
All right, and last but not least, Dom. With the
with the fresh cut. I'm Dom Farrow. I'm a junior sports information media major with a political science minor. As Camden mentioned, I recently started my own podcast, the North Shore Station. It's mostly an NFL podcast, but we like to keep things casual, talk about anything. I'm also currently working for Duquesne Athletics Productions, doing some camera work, working some graphics, doing a lot of stuff with them. So very excited moving forward with that. I think that's it for me.
I love that. I like the podcasting. I feel like when I started podcasting, someone told me to do it. Like, I had an old lady who she was like a media person, and I just retired, and she was just like, "You should do a podcast." And I was like, "Well, I don't know what that is." And it's crazy that you guys are so involved at such a young age. Like, you know all these things, and you have your own voice and you have your own outlet. Something that I think is so important. I mean, we talk all the time about like having that voice and on Twitter and social media, but being able to produce a podcast and things like that, I think it helps you tremendously as you go through life, knowing kind of all of these different things, knowing how to handle yourself in the spotlight. That's going to bode well when you go for like job interviews and things like that. I always think about like the podcast. I'm getting better at not saying like. John will tell you. John, by the way, the Santo episode,
yeah,
I got real nervous at one time and I said like about 4 times in a row, and I got real mad at myself.
It's fine. I think I caught that one. And then,
Yeah.
then we did, I don't even know what order we're releasing all the episodes. I was editing the Maria Blazewski, and I was like, oh, I started to do like a counter, and then I was like, all right, we're not going to do that to you this week, but we'll give you a little time. We'll give you a little curve.
Get the counter going anytime, because that's like, Jesus.
But it's interesting.
That's really tough. I'm glad you guys have a good outlet to kind of not jumble your words all the time.
We're going to put you in the studio and run the teleprompter and see how you do.
Oh, Jesus.
That's something everyone's experts at this point.
Really? Well, Michela, if you guys don't know, when we do the hold for one and things like that, the videos that I send Michela and the screw-ups I have, I'm scrolling through my phone for quite some time just because I kept on messing up. I keep on messing up. I'm terrible at.
And he gets so mad at himself when a 6'11" man gets mad at himself, like we're doing the audio book too, and he's like, he says the same thing like 6 times, and he like pounds the table. You're like, shit, dude, come on, man.
Yeah, so this interview might get intense, guys. I don't want to scare you, but this might get intense. No cursing.
No, they have to be used to it.
Word jar.
Leads into my next question is anyone, all of you, or just like a couple of you can answer this. Why did you pick the major that you picked? Like, what makes you want to do what you want to do? Because we talk about, like, the first episode I was on, we talked a lot about like the business side and the journalistic side and how there's so much going on other than the athletes playing on the court or on the field that people don't like recognize. So what made you guys want to get into this?
Go first. So for me personally, I was always kind of in the mindset, in order to be successful, I was going to have to be in the health field. And I got into Duquesne for pharmacy, hated it. I was miserable. And I would sit there with my advisor trying to figure out like what the heck I wanted to do. And she said, where is your heart? And my heart was always with baseball in particular. My dad played, my grandpa, my brother. So sports just kind of came to me almost instead of me going to it. And it was just always where my safety net was for me. And when I found out about the sports information and media major, I just knew that was perfect for me. And being a woman in sports, I think a lot of girls get really timid going into it, but I really I wasn't too nervous doing it myself, but it just really worked out for me, and I'm so glad I went that route.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I feel you on that one, Elena. If you want to do a little plug for WISE, I think that'd be great, because that's I didn't have an undergrad, and I think that's so great. So you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so we just started a new club at Duquesne. It's called WISE, and it stands for Women in Sports and Entertainment. And we're getting some speakers on from the Steelers, Pirates, other women who've really made a name for themselves in the sport industry. We're trying to get more girls on campus to join it. So far, we have about 15 members, I believe.
Wow. Go ahead, Michela.
No, it's awesome. It just like, it makes me so happy that it's like, I didn't even have that in undergrad, and that was only a year and a half ago, you know? So like seeing that progress so quickly is really exciting for me. And, you know, I've told you guys this before, like in DSTV, I joined DSTV because I wanted to be like a field reporter for hockey. And I got the opportunity to do that with DSTV through Pittsburgh Hockey Now. And, you know, I just wanted to go record and go home. And you very quickly realize, like, if I don't know how to edit, if I don't know how to write, if I don't know how to do all of those things that like encompass journalism and like public relations too, I'm not going to get a job in this industry, because, you know, women are great and women are beautiful, but you have to be more than just a pretty face to like
preach it.
assert, you know, but Elena, you are totally that and everything. But like,
thank you.
You know, but yeah, anyone else? Reasons why you got into this?
Yeah, I guess
nobody.
I
was gonna say there's nobody cooler than professional athletes, and the only person that's the next closest is people who talk about professional athletes. Of course, I'm not physically gifted. I'm not 6'11", so I have to be the one to talk about the athletes. But no, I've always enjoyed it. I remember as a kid getting like a little ESPN microphone for Christmas, and I've always loved playing around with that, pretending to commentate and hoping to turn that dream into reality one day.
It's super cool because I feel like we interviewed John Guarna. He was, worked in America for a while and then went to Australia, and he was now in the Australian Basketball League. If you guys have followed like LaMelo Ball, last year he played in the NBL, which is the league that I played in, and John now is a field reporter for them. I thought it was super cool because he kind of said the same thing, you know, his dream growing up. He's like, I'm not going to be the guy, you know, on the court, but I was emulating the guys who were, you know, kind of on the sidelines taking notes. So that was awesome. That's really cool. Anyone else?
Guess I'll go next.
Yeah.
I would say that the biggest reason why I major in sports information media, besides the fact that I really love sports, I just couldn't see myself really doing anything else. Obviously, everyone, like Elena said, a lot of people, a lot of adults, I should say, always asked me if I wanted to go into like business, because people thought like I was good at math and all that though, but I just really never like seemed to have fun like doing math or anything like that. I don't like science at all. And to me, I feel like I'm a social person. I really like asking people questions, really like getting to know people. And that's why I just want to get to know more about athletes and why they why they think, why they play the way they play, and just stuff like that. And just also just finding stories that most everyday people don't know about athletes. I would like to just like write about it and say that I'm the one that figured it out first before anyone else.
That's cool. Well, I feel like that was the cool thing. You have to do something that you love. I feel whatever you go into, the most important thing is doing something you love. Playing basketball is what I loved. Obviously, I can't do it anymore. But then that's when I started writing. Because if you're in a job, and I'm just because Brentaro, when you were talking, I was thinking about so many people when I retired were like, "You should get into business," and I'm like, "What the fuck is what is business?" And I'm like, "What? Tell me like business. What do you mean business?" And they're like, "Here, go apply for this company." And I never wanted someone to be my boss. We talked a little bit about that last week. Like, I didn't want a boss. I was my own boss for so long that I didn't want someone to be like, okay, you have to do this. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I know how to do this on my own. You don't have to tell me. So figuring out how to do that thing and like do something you love is super cool. And knowing it from such a young age, it's awesome. And I think just this is like going to be an inspiring episode because I feel like I'm taking notes and things like that, and it's kind of firing me up to get off my ass and do more with my life if I can. If I can after the vaccine takes its course and I'm laying on the ground.
Keep on going, you know.
Yeah. Where'd he go?
I
didn't even notice.
Oh, I'm so tired. Oh my God, can we move the meeting? Oh my God, please. But we'll get through it together.
I'm such an old man. That like one, I was like, oh my God. It was just, I feel like I'm way more awake for this one, and I don't have anything to drink or anything like that.
If you guys looked at the Valentine's Day episode, by the end, Kevin and I were like, kind of drifting off, and Michela was like, "Hey guys!"
Yeah,
I was just like,
we made a drink. I was like, and drinking when you're that tired is just no good. That just put me in.
So I want to hear what Cam has to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Cam.
It sucks to go last, Cam. And I'm thinking of you like sitting there like, I'm like, well, shit, everyone said everything.
Swear, John.
Yeah. It's kind of the same for me. It was the idea growing up that, you know, I wanted to be a professional, specifically basketball player, but just kind of an athlete in general. I played baseball, and I actually was a bowler when I was younger as well. I was pretty good. But then once I was a junior on JV, you know, that's kind of started to fade out of reality. So then I tried to find something that I was passionate about, which is still sports. And I took a sports writing class my junior year of high school, and I just fell in love with it completely. And then I started looking at programs to do it in college, and I found Duquesne, and head of the sports media department here, Professor Robert Healy, absolutely sold the program like a salesman. So I came here, and I've been in love with it ever since. And what really made me fall in love with it as well was just the idea of being able to get that behind the scenes look that the normal fan doesn't necessarily get to see. Because after I took my meeting here with him, I joined the newspaper back at high school, and the first paper I did was an interview on a player from our high school who's committed to Penn State. And just being able to hear the side of that just being able to go to the high school game and watch him kick I didn't really get to see that side. So that behind the scenes look is what gets me fired up about it.
Super cool.
Yeah, Kev, you've said that, like just the whole idea of getting the backstory of all these people.
Oh yeah,
makes the game a billion times better. If you just turn on a game, you don't really know these people. Like you're like, yeah, I don't know if I'm into this, but if you know what everyone like, all right, this guy came from this city and he dealt with this adversity and this, you know, like he was signed here and then he's back, you know, that's a huge part of it.
Well, think about the Jordan documentary. That was the first time that so many people found this window into Michael Jordan's life that no one knew. And you're sitting there, that was 1990, the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, I was a kid then. You guys were, none of you were born yet, right? All right, I'm going to mute myself for a little bit and fall on the floor. So that's so just for me growing up, you didn't know the backstory. You just heard stories here and there, but that kind of opened the curtains to what was going on in Michael Jordan's life. And now the curtains are open. Everyone knows everything that's going on in everyone's lives with social media. So it's pretty cool. The backstory is definitely fun, because I think that's what makes athletes more popular and more accessible, and that's why sports are blowing up like the NBA, because you know what's going on behind the scenes. You feel like you know these guys, and when you feel like you know them, suddenly it's so much easier to kind of have that relationship with the sport.
I got a follow-up question real quick. Did anyone
for me or for Cam?
For
anyone.
Duquesne crew.
Wait,
here.
Hold on. So this is. Do you guys have your buzzers ready, John?
I'm just curious.
Okay, sorry.
Because Kev, I don't even know if I ever told you. Did anyone's like family go like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like going into this field?" Was anyone's family like, "You're an idiot"? Because that's I had that issue. I have a background in music, and my family was like, "You're an idiot, like for going into music," And I was like, I carry that with me to this day. Was anyone's family like that? Everyone was super supportive, or like, does anyone have like any like no? My mom was like, no, you should be a lawyer, because that's what my mom. She was like, you should be a lawyer, or a doctor, or an engineer, and I was like, I'm gonna go study music. They were like, you're right.
My mom was kind of skeptical about the whole thing, because when I was pharmacy, she's like, you have expensive taste, like, I don't know if these sports people make a lot of money. I don't know if you're going to be able to buy the things you will think you need. But she eventually, like, when she saw how happy I was and how, like, much success I've gained already in the major, she really loves it. And she just wants me to get her free Pirate tickets and Steeler tickets and all that stuff. So she's really into it now.
Elena, it's so funny. When you first said you were in pharmaceuticals and went, that was, like, my first thought. I was like, oh. I know a few people in pharmaceuticals who make a lot of money, but like I said, like, if you're not happy, you're not. Like, this. You have to do what's happy, and you'll make a lot of money in this too. This is awesome.
Yeah, I think just like the thought of counting pills for the rest of my life, it just really didn't apply to me. And I remember senior year, I was sitting in like I took AP Chem. I'm not that smart, but I finessed my way into it. But I was just sitting there and I was like, I do not want to do this for another 6 years. Like, this is not for me.
Cam, who hit it?
Embiid just hit a 3.
I saw. I'm following the score, but I don't see it. And I was like, it was 118, 115, and all of a sudden it was tied. And I was like, I'm following through Steph Curry on my fantasy team. So Seth Curry, and I was like, oh, he didn't hit it, because his score unfortunately is 13 points. All right, sorry, John. So that was your follow-up question.
Yeah, like I said, I just wanted to know if anyone's family was like, nah, you shouldn't do that.
Anyone else? Anyone else completely, destroy your family's honor?
My dreams are crushed.
Destroyed.
I will say the program that they have, because I was the first class to graduate with that degree. It was like brand new when I got to Duquesne and did it. They make it pretty well-rounded. Like, you take writing classes, you pick your concentration. I picked public relations because I was like, even though it's focused on sports, I can still do public relations for any kind of company.
Yeah.
And there's just so many opportunities. Like, it's not just DSTV. There's the Duke, there's Lexicon, there's the student radio station. There's a lot of outlets. And being in the middle of the city, like,
yeah.
And I've said it on like a couple episodes, like, Pittsburgh sports fans are like no other. Like, being in the middle of the city, you're accessible. PNC Park is like 3 miles from campus, and Heinz Field maybe 4. PPG is right down the street from campus. You can walk from the gym at Duquesne down to PPG where the Penguins play.
That's cool.
It's really, and it's making connections. Like, it's, like Robert Healy, Cam, like you said, like, he sold me on the program too. And I was always like spicy in class, and he's like, you should be in arena entertainment. I'm like, yeah, I do like attention. I was like, I probably should. But making those connections and meeting people, like, and that's why I pushed you guys to do this episode, because it was like, this is what's going to get you, pull it out in your resume, put it on your website. But I had a game if you guys want to play.
Yeah. I got the questions all queued up.
Now, and anyone can answer. And what I think is going to be interesting about this game is that, students who are experienced in covering things, in writing, that have like the journalistic training may choose different questions than you, or may choose different answers that you and Jon do, which I think would be interesting to see. It's called Would You Rather. We've played it before on the podcast. You're literally just picking between two different things. So pretend you're a journalist, essentially. Pretend you do what we do. You two, the old men.
What exactly do we do?
Would you rather cover the Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup?
Stanley Cup.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl for sure.
Super Bowl, yes.
John, you were.
Come on. Hockey girl. Hockey
John
girl.
lost. That's
Michaela.
I didn't answer. Well, it depends. I know.
Michaela loves hockey, so I know where she's going.
I would cover the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I think any kind of coverage that you're doing on the Super Bowl is overshadowed by the commercials and the halftime show.
I do love the production, though.
This is true.
All about the production of even like someone was saying it early. It may have been Cam or Brent was talking about just the production of sports in general, like how to package it, right? You know, you got to have the music, you got to have the show. It's, you know, if you just put the screen on, you know, like, all right, that's cool, but it is about, like, listen, why do you have producers, Kev, right? Because we're helping to package you and sell you. We had a 15-minute conversation today about merchandise and how to market that.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up in the 90s with Ron Hextall, and and I just remember sitting on the couch watching Ron Hextall beat the piss out of people.
They know about Ron Hextall now because he's their GM.
But that's why I would have to go in that direction. Yeah, a little nostalgia.
Tread lightly with the Flyers versus Penguins information in this crew.
Oh boy, are you guys all Penguins fans?
Oh yeah.
No, Cam's not. Cam, you're a Flyers fan, right?
I don't really follow hockey, so
no comment.
You're kind of with me.
I'm like in the middle.
My daughter last night was like, had the Flyers game on, and I wasn't really watching. I was kind of playing on my phone, and my daughter was just like looked up, and she's like, "Why are we watching the Flyers?" I was like, "I don't know." Stop talking to me. All right. Okay. No, Michaela, go ahead. Next question.
NBA draft or NFL draft?
NBA. All day.
NFL.
Day.
NFL.
NFL.
NFL, yeah.
I'm going NBA on that one.
I mean, after the first, like 10 picks in the NBA draft, I lose interest.
I plan on being one of those. So
I would say NFL. I agree with Dom. Sometimes, like once you get past the first 7 or 8 picks in the NBA, it's kind of like, all right, you know. But
a lot of foreign people, yeah. You know,
but the third
names
round
you can't pronounce.
The third round picks in the NFL can just be as exciting as the first round picks, you know.
They like split it into 2 days, which bothers me. I feel like they used to do it. It was like, wasn't it 3 days? I feel like when I was young, it was
NFL.
It was like the first round, and then the second and third round, the one day, and then it would go on. I remember I was at my brother's like spring fling at Penn, and there was a kid who was waiting to get drafted. It was like the God only knows 9th round or something, and they were all sitting around. Everyone was drinking around him, and he was like sitting in front of the TV. I was like, "This is still on? Like this is awful." This is so horrible. This is your dream of being picked in the 9th round. Meanwhile, I was picked in the 8th round of the D-League draft. But
I was going to say, these guys are still making.
Don't even worry about that.
You and I'll ever make, bro.
Yeah, seriously. I was 8th round of the D-League. G League. Now it's called the G League. 8th round of the G League draft. But I made the team. So fuck all. Or freak all. All right. Go ahead, Michaela. Next question.
All right. The Olympics, the Winter Games or the Summer Games?
Is that even a question?
Yeah, summer.
Summer, yeah.
Summer, I gotta do gymnastics.
Yeah, gymnastics is good. Swimming.
That's my route.
I would definitely say summer. I could have it on all day.
I would say winter.
Yeah, I'm probably going winter too.
I do winter. You get less competition. Whoever works at your media group, they don't want to do it. You get all, you know, the praise. Or like if you're a freelance journalist and no one wants to cover that, there's your payday.
I just think about sitting outside in like I don't know, Siberia or wherever they hold the Winter Olympics at, for just hours on end, just watching Lindsey Vonn ski down a hill and just being like, this sucks. Like, I'd rather be the guy in a warm place watching Michael Phelps break records and losing my shit.
I can watch some figure skating. Sometimes that stuff's really neat.
Yeah,
We're forgetting about the greatest sporting event of all time, the Miracle on Ice.
Oh, yeah.
That was Winter Olympics right there, yeah.
That's true. I just feel like, I don't know, the it's like when I watch the NBA and all of them, like Team USA, the Dream Team, like I feel like, I don't know, hockey plus USA is always favored, so that might make it worse. Like, not for basketball, for hockey, they're like what, like the 6th best team, 5th best.
They're
Who knows?
usually in there.
Remember the Russians just ran shit? That was
the Canadians.
That was my time period. Do you guys remember Russia, USSR? No, just me.
Oh my god.
All right. Hit us again here, Michela. Let's go.
One more, and then we're gonna turn up the heat. Would you rather work like for your own company, like your own media company, podcast, whatever it is, or would you rather take like a talk show position at Barstool or ESPN or something like that? Think about how much work this is, because I'm not even the star of this podcast, and I'm tired.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I feel like I don't know. I feel like the notoriety obviously is great. You have the Barstool Sports and all those, but I don't know. I feel like this gives us so much more freedom. I've cursed 3 times. I've said like 400 times. We've talked about whatever we want, and there's no one really breathing down our back, which I kind of like. I kind of like the freedom. So I'm going this podcast or a smaller podcast. Specifically this podcast. Guys, it's either Overseas Famous or Barstool. What do you want to work for? Choose wisely. You're only on a Zoom call with one.
What do you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd want my own personally. I agree with everything you said. I'd like to make my own decisions, not really have all that stress of like the corporate world, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would do. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think I would do like a talk show like Barstool or something. I don't know, because I feel like they already have a brand made, and I get stressed really easily. Like, I don't know if I could like manage my own thing by myself, maybe. But if it was like today, I'd probably do Barstool.
I would say and do something like something like what Colin Cowherd does with the show on Fox Sports 1 called The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like he just brings a bunch of these athletes and then coaches and just starts talking about sports, and then he also just like gives out his opinions. He says whatever he wants to. Like, that's fun, and like no matter how much criticism he gets, he's still getting paid a good amount of money. I'm assuming.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's probably the direction I would take it. When I was talking to my father about going into sports media, he brought up the idea that I could have my own talk show or something called The O-Line, and that's just like the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That is really cool. Michela, the O-Line. Let's trademark it and get Cam going. I like it.
Yeah.
Cam, they just scored. Okay, so we took the lead in overtime.
Yeah, we got it.
Looking good.
You should have just had your own interview. All right. Cool. Well, now I think I should probably explain to like the listeners and stuff. We didn't only do this for like a collaboration effort because it looks good PR for DSTV. It's good for Overseas Famous. We're all learning from each other tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But whichever student does the best interview with Kevin tonight, and like it has to be between 2 to 3 minutes, gets to co-host another episode of Overseas Famous with the guys.
We're having we have some cool guests coming up.
Hey, we were talking today. There's some cool guests coming up.
Yeah, Steve Astoria played at Notre Dame. Was like a big time. He's coming on next week. Corsley Edwards plays in the Big Three. Who else do we have? We have like a few lined up in the ringer. A few who have articles. Heavy wants to hop back on too, John.
You know, when I look back at the last year, his is one that kind of comes back to mind the most.
Yeah, he was solid. He wrote a book too. But like I was like, oh shit, is this gonna, you know, we're gonna be like releasing books at the same time. And then I was just like, oh man, you know, it's gonna be about overseas basketball. It's gonna be just like mine. And then it came out and it was called Godfidence. I was like, oh, that's nothing like mine. It's like the complete oh, God? Oh, okay, never mind.
So humble.
God would throw up if he saw my book, the first 2 paragraphs.
He might.
Yeah.
Interviews, since for intros we went alphabetical order, we'll go reverse alphabetical order. I'm going to set a timer on my phone. It's going to be 3 minutes maximum per person, because remember, when you're a journalist and you're out there in the field, you might only get a couple of minutes to get the star player in the locker room. Been there, done that. So we get a timer.
All right, can I have everyone mute their microphones aside from who's going first? Kev, obviously you stay good.
Wow, John, you really sounded like a teacher there.
You did. I almost muted my mic. I got scared. I was like, I'll turn it. You got it. I will.
All right, let me.
At least no one has like a pet chipmunk on their shoulder or something like that.
I thought you were making fun of me. I was like, what's behind me?
Making appearances in class.
Yeah.
All right, so that means Dom, you're going to be up first. I'm going to mute my mic, and I will just cut you off when it's done. All right?
Sounds good. How you doing, Kevin?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So when looking at your resume online, I saw you're from Cherry Hills, New Jersey. That's pretty close to Philly, right?
Yep. It's a suburb of Philly, just about 5 minutes away.
And I heard that you're a big Sixers fan. Are you an Eagles fan?
I am. Sixers, Eagles, sort of Flyers, and Philly's huge.
How are you feeling with the Eagles moving forward? With the Wentz situation, everything.
The Wentz situation, to me, the Wentz situation was frustrating because you have a guy who obviously showed he's a very high-level player, and you kind of are just throwing it all away to rebuild. I think the quarterback's such an important position. You saw that in Tampa Bay. So I think it was crazy that they just kind of were just like, man, we're done with you before his contract even started. I just think they screwed up and they kind of turned the tides and almost blamed Wentz. And granted, he might have been a dick. He might have been this. He might have been that. I don't know. I don't know the guy. I did meet him at the zoo one time, but it's just whatever. I think he's a talented quarterback. He does get hurt a lot, but I just think that going with a guy unproven like Jalen Hurts and just trusting our entire organization and being like, oh, go, by the way, we owe $40 billion every year, so we can't sign anyone else to help you. I'm like, oh, this is fucking awesome.
It's definitely an interesting situation in Philly. And I think part of it was with the rabid fans out in Philly. Did you feel any of that when you were playing high school in Cherry Hills? Did you ever get fans like chirping you?
Oh, yeah.
Booing?
Yeah, it's crazy growing up from the Philly area. I was one of those fans. And then when I went and played, in high school, college, and then, we would come back and play. My brother played at Penn, so I watched a lot of games at the Palestra and watched how they kind of reacted to people. And then I played Penn when my brother was there, when I was at Monmouth. And people were laying into me and telling me my SAT scores weren't good enough. So there was a lot of just anger thrown at me, and I was like, "Yep, I've been there." But no one has anything to compare to like people in the Balkan region of overseas. And they're lighting flares and throwing them at me. We threw batteries and stuff, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, you're the worst people in the world." And meanwhile, there's like flares landing at my feet, and I'm like, "Cool."
So was that the craziest place that you played?
Yeah, Kosovo was crazy. It was nuts. It was by far the craziest place I played. The fans were rabid. The fans were crazy. It was a lot of fun though. It was such a different experience. But Kosovo was wild. Like every day there was something new. Where I was just like, where am I? We flew into the airport. The airport. This is the capital of Kosovo. We start driving away from the airport, and we were on a dirt road. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Sorry, freaking kidding me. Michaela. Put a quarter in the jar.
Yeah,
It's over.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
That was quick.
I thought you were saying stop cursing. I like again.
I was gonna say I still boo you, Kevin.
Yeah, people boo me.
Screwed up the schedule this week, dude.
Dom
Yeah.
really brings up Philly questions to like get under my skin because I respond to his podcast tweets all the time, and I'm just like, no, they made a huge mistake. Like,
Could I ask one more question?
Follow up.
Well, I was just reading an article you had in Slam. It said that I don't know the approximate number of fouls I've collected during my 10-year career, but I can imagine it's in the thousands. What was like the worst situation? Have you ever been kicked out of a game?
Oh yeah. So when I was in Australia, there's a whole story I wrote about in my book, and I was just like actually finishing the final edits and stuff today, so I was rereading that one. So like refs, I played like maybe a few minutes of this one game. It was the semifinals of the NBL in Australia, and we were playing Perth at Perth. Now Perth is crazy; it's a really big arena. And I fouled out in like no time. And I was like, F this, like, this is BS. Like there's definitely something going on. There's no way that I'm fouling this much. So I went back to the sat down and I like bit a towel. And when I went and I like ripped it to shreds, like the Incredible Hulk. And I just kind of went about my day and I was pissed off. And then I found out later that the camera had followed me all the way to the bench and was like focused on me. So when I ripped the towel, all of Australia was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And it became like a big story in Australia. So I've had some blow ups with the refs and gotten, I yelled at them in English, and then they've teed me up and said, I understand you. And I'm like, whoops. So there's been fun things like that.
all right,
That's awesome.
follow up. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so Camden, you are next.
Hold on 1 second. Kev, turn your mic down a smidge.
Is that good?
How's that?
That's good, yeah.
All right. And go.
So my questions are going to mostly relate to your career. So my first one is with your time in Roanoke in the D League. You know, when you're growing up playing a team sport, it's usually work hard as a team to win. But I'm sure the atmosphere in the G League is everybody's trying to get that call up to the NBA. So I was wondering what what the difference is in the feeling between the competitiveness in it's not necessarily as much of a team game because everybody's trying to get that step up to the main roster.
That's a great question. It's funny because my first year in the D League, I kind of got my foot in the door because my brother was in the D League. He played at Penn, made the D League roster. So the coach from the D League actually drafted me late thinking I was probably going to get cut, but he would do my brother a favor. And then I came in and kind of knocked everyone around and made the team. And it was one of those things where I was so happy that I made the team. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is huge that I just made I'm in a step away from the NBA. But I was just so excited that I wasn't that crazy person just going like, now I have to destroy everyone. And it took a while for me to realize that, oh shit, like not only am I competing against everyone that I go out on the floor, I'm competing against like my brother and everyone on my team too. It became just, it was like Thunderdome. Like you just competed against everyone. You didn't care. So every day at practice, I'm like battling my brother because even though we're teammates and he's my brother, we might be up for the same contract in the NBA. And when it comes to that, you really have to figure out that, it's the NBA. It's every man for themselves. So that became a really interesting mindset that I had to develop that, every single game I'm fighting for an NBA spot and I needed to focus on one thing that I could do real well, which was rebounding. And I just went and got every rebound and was like, this is how I'm going to get in the league.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to attack that. And then my second question is, I saw you had a redshirt season your freshman year at Monmouth.
Yep.
How important and effective was that to be able to take that redshirt year and just work on the things you needed to work on and get the runs in practice and get comfortable with D1 basketball?
That's a great one. Like I came in, when I was a senior in high school, I was very good, but I was 195 pounds. And I'm almost the same size as I am now. I weigh 280 right now. Maybe that's bad, probably. But I'm like almost 100 pounds more. And so I was so skinny. I was still developing into my body. I was also super young. I graduated high school. I was only 17. So I was very young. And that redshirt year helped me get stronger. It helped me, figure out how to be more competitive, how to, bang in the post a little more, because I was still a baby. I mean, I was like a little kid trying to compete with guys who were 23 years old. So that was huge. So I think that was that redshirt year, even though I didn't want to do it, my coach had to sit me down and was just like, you're doing this. And I was like, but I want to play. And they're like, well, you can play at practice. And I'm like, this sucks. So that was definitely a little demoralizing, but I'm so glad I did it.
I will allow one follow-up question from Cam if he has one.
Favorite Sixer of all time?
Oof. This is going to sound so dumb because there's like Dr. J, and I'm going against the grain of guys, but there's a guy that I kind of, we kind of came out at the same time, followed him, but Kyle Korver. I also wore my socks real high. I also loved Keith Van Horn too. That was like, I used to watch him and play. So and he played briefly for the Sixers.
All right. Cool. Good job, everyone. So we got 3 minutes for Brentero. And go.
Kevin, I just want to say it's an honor talking to you today. And my first question to you is, I want to know, how'd you get into the game of basketball?
Same thing, my brother. See, I was a really good swimmer. This is going to sound, people always make fun of me and they're like, oh, you jump in and you're like the length of the pool. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you have to like swim and stuff. So I was a really good swimmer, and I actually didn't end up starting, like I was telling Cam, like I was still developing. So I didn't end up starting a varsity 8th grade, game in middle school. I played freshman basketball. I started JV my sophomore and junior year and was 6th man on the varsity. And then I started varsity and was like nominated to the McDonald's All-American team. So it was just, I really developed, but my brother really got me into the game because he was really good, and I was swimming. And I liked the crowd. I liked watching his games and the crowd was cheering. And swimming, you're just like, huh, because that's all you hear when your head's in the water, and all of a sudden your ear comes up and you hear people cheering, and then you go back in, it's like quiet. I'm like, this is stupid. So I think my brother kind of seeing all the accolades he was getting, I was like, well, screw that. I'm better than he is. So I decided I was going to go.
Interesting to hear. You also played at Camden Catholic High School, and you also played college basketball in Monmouth. Kevin, was Monmouth the only school that gave you an opportunity to play?
No. So the first school that I ever got that called me on whatever signing or whatever the first day that they can start reaching out was USC, like University of Southern California. It was Henry Bibby. He called and he's like, hey, same thing. My brother was really good. I was so skinny and awkward, but I had a really good, they can see the potential. I went to camps in the summer. It was like working with Christian Leitner on some stuff. And a lot of people started realizing who I was and that I was going to have a lot of potential. So I ended up getting him. He was interested. They offered me a scholarship. I was like, wow, that's really far away. No thanks. Which is the dumbest thing I've ever thought of. I was like, what was I thinking? But whatever. And then I had a lot of those similar schools, the Riders, Drexel, had interest from like Hartford, a lot of the Patriot League schools, Colgate, Cornell, like Boston, a lot of the Northeast schools in the Patriot, American East, NEC, the MAC, all those teams. And then Richmond was really interested too. So I kind of narrowed it down because I was a homebody and I wanted to stay close. So that's why Monmouth was my choice.
Well, Kevin, a lot of schools really were interested in you. A lot of kids seem to have trouble getting into their dream schools based on academics, and here you are as a basketball player, just schools coming after you. That's honestly wonderful to hear, and obviously you put in a lot of work to get to where you are at today. You played professional basketball, so maybe sometime before then, before you start playing professional basketball, or maybe during it, like what is one of the biggest things that you have learned from the sport in general?
Real quick.
Yeah.
Brantero, this will be your follow-up just because you ran out of time, but I keep going. I love it.
So the best thing that I've learned from this sport, so this is going to sound like horrible, but I was like soft. Like I was just a kind of like not a tough kid. I went through, I was like pushed around. I weighed 195 pounds. Like you can just like, and I would fall over. So as I started playing and as I started getting like beat up and like punched and kicked and elbowed, you kind of started developing that toughness. And then when I got into pros, it was like ridiculous. It was either you had to like, be tough or you're not playing. So I think that was the biggest thing I learned, how to kind of grow up and how to be tough. And I think that's the biggest thing that I can take away from basketball is it made me into a man. Like I was a kid and I was kind of soft, and now I feel like I'm a tough person. That basketball did that. I wasn't like that before, and maybe it wasn't ingrained in me, and maybe I would have been someone else, but I became a tough person because of basketball.
That's
All right.
great to hear.
Last but not least, Elena, 3 minutes. Go.
Hi, Kevin. I just want to thank you so much for having us on today. It's such an honor to meet you guys and get the opportunity to come on and learn a little bit about you.
Appreciate that. John, take notes, give her points. Go ahead.
So my question, I always like to ask every athlete I talk to. I saw at Monmouth University you wore jersey number 25. Is there a story behind that number or any of the numbers you've ever worn?
It's weird because when I wanted 15 at first, when I was at Camden Catholic, I wanted number 15. And a kid, I still know his name, Ryan Peterson, he like took it right before me. And I was like, son of a bitch. Like, I want 15. Like, I'm number 15. And he's like, he was a year older, so he just got his own way. So I became 25. And I wanted 15 because Sandy Alomar Jr., this is such a weird story, but Sandy Alomar Jr. played for the Cleveland Indians. He was my favorite baseball player. So I used to love 15. So I wanted to wear 15 because of Sandy Alomar Jr. I love baseball like more than any other sport at that time. Baseball cards. My grandpa was Paul Owens, who was with the Phillies for a long time. So I was like, this is awesome. Like I want 15, and he took it. So then my coach came up, he's like, here, you can be 25. Because at that time, they just threw whatever jersey would fit my tall ass. And I was like, okay, so 25 it was. And then I wore that because I wore it in high school, I wore it in college. And then funny, like it flipped. I went to the pros and I was drafted in the 8th round. I wasn't really expected to make the team. I made the team. And there's a guy, Chris Christopherson, who played at Oregon. He was like 7'2". And he was number 25 at Oregon. So he was on the team and he's like, I'm 25. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So then I went back to 15 and Sandy Alomar. And then that's the number I wore as much as I could. I wore it in Australia. I wore it in America. I wore it in New Zealand. Did I? Yeah, but like it just kind of it flipped when I had to. I was number 7 at one time, 13. It was just kind of, at some point you just kind of took whatever number they would give you. But 25 and 15 became like my two go-to numbers.
That's a really cool story. What is one piece of advice you wish you could have told your 20-year-old self?
That's a good question. So it would probably be something about knowing how close they always say you don't know like how close or how good you have it. Knowing how close I was to making it, and maybe, stay at the gym for an extra hour, lift a little harder, do these things. I always said, because I went to Monmouth, which is a smaller D1 school, I was kind of behind the 8 ball. I made the D League, and I'm like going against this guy, Casey Sanders, who I played in the NCAA tournament. He was the starter at Duke. And I'm like, and then I'm starting over him at Roanoke. And I'm like, I'm better than that. I'm better than these guys. So that was something that I always looked at as just like, I wish that earlier in my career, I worked a little harder. And maybe I could have been there because I was later, but like at that point, it was kind of like no one really knew me. I had to impress. If I was a little better earlier, I might have gone to a better college, might have had a better experience.
Elena, I'll give you one follow-up question.
Alrighty. So I'm sure you've had some cool, awesome wins. What is your most memorable win?
That's a really, really good question. I played in Australia for the Cairns Taipans, and it was a newer team. They were kind of newer, but they hadn't really reached anywhere in the playoffs. And the first year I was there, we went to the semifinals. So I thought that was super cool because the game that kind of everyone was just like, oh, here they go again. They're in the playoffs. They're going to lose. And I had a monster game, and we ended up winning and moving on to the semifinals. And I thought, or to the quarterfinals, and then we beat Perth in the foul game. And then, so that was that first round game was super cool to kind of excel and play as well as I did and kind of lead the team to a playoff win. I thought that was really fun.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Round of applause. I'm so proud of you guys. Like, see how good they are? No repeat questions.
Seriously. And kudos for none of you mistaking me for the wrestler. So great job with that. I was just waiting for like, how did you get into wrestling? I was like,
I will say I did look up Michael Phelps because now I can't take I feel like you look like Michael Phelps, Kev.
Oh, a lot of people say that. I've gotten that a lot.
Like if you did, guys, you need to look up you all did awesome research. You gotta look. Doesn't he look like Michael Phelps? If you get like one of the old pictures of when he was playing,
yeah,
like it looks exactly like Michael Phelps. You can't tell as much with the beard.
It's weird because a lot of people said, yeah, when I was playing, people were like, you look like Michael Phelps. And Michael Phelps was like, I'm always kind of like the second rate. Like I was the top rated Kevin Owens, but like I look like Michael Phelps. And now I'm like the fucking second rated Kevin Owens. And I'm like, oh, this is great.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Second Kevin Owens too. Basketball, not wrestling.
It's funny to hear you guys like talk about, because like Dom was like, oh, you grew up in Cherry Hill. And I was like, so weird to hear you guys talk about that stuff. Like Kevin went to Camden Catholic. My father was kicked out of Camden Catholic High School. So like I have he wasn't kicked out. The nuns told my grandmother she was wasting her tuition money.
Oof.
Anyway, so
I think that might be, yeah, that's a rough one. Those nuns are tough.
Sorry,
I feel like I had like 2 nuns in the entire building. Like nuns just, I don't think now there's like no nuns or priests or anything to teach there. They just kind of do their, religion thing.
You all are going to a Catholic college. But no, you guys did like so great. I anticipated you would. But the title of this episode is Who Wants to Be an Intern? Just like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? We're just going to knock that off. So I think it's time for Kevin and Jon to ask you guys a couple questions before we send you off.
Yeah. All right. So the real quick thing, we have a lot of questions about, interning, and it's like, it's going to sound weird, but like Michaela, I honestly thought about this about 1 billion times because the whole intern thing is like blowing up. I don't even know what happened, but why is everyone talking about interns on Twitter?
Because paid internships are technically just free labor.
Yeah.
Or unpaid internships are free labor. I've actually applied for some internships lately, like just for more of what I want to do, not just my weekend job. And they would pay me as much as I'm making at my retail job now, even with the master's, like even pursuing the master's. There's just a really big, not just education gap, but resource gap in the job market because people are living longer. So there's not necessarily a bunch of positions to fill anymore. And there are more conglomerates and partnerships within companies too. I mean, think of how many things Disney owns. If you work for ABC or, you shoot a film for Marvel, you work for Disney. And just to say you work for Disney, they can pay you like shit because they're Disney, and who doesn't want that on their resume? So yeah. And at this point, like at least personally, like not in this regard, but when I'm done with the master's, there is no way I would be taking a free internship.
Yeah.
Maybe like my junior or senior year of my bachelor's, but there's no way you're getting my work for free.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I like that.
Everybody should be held to that standard too. You guys work your butts off now. I see you in the studio. I know you have homework. I know you have a life. Like we're putting in all this work. Like I was telling Kevin today, I got a flat tire. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And it just sounds so dumb. It's like, I'm so stressed. I'm so tired. Like these guys are too. And everyone's like, you're young. Why are you stressed? Well, at the weekend job, I have this. I run DSTV. I still have to do my own classes. I have to do my GA hours or I don't get my scholarship to go to school anymore. I need to clean my house. I need to go food shopping. Like, young people are tired of being told you're too young to be tired.
Michela, I love it. Sound off. Sound off. Tell the world what is up.
I guess that's what I mean. Like, I got a flat tire today in front of PPG, by the way. Be careful because all that construction downtown shredded it. And I just
saw the picture.
And I just stood in my driveway. I was like, nope, I'm not gonna cry about a tire. Absolutely not. And like went about my day and like, you know, and I speak for all young people. We're done with being told we're too young to be tired.
I hear you. I love it. That's good. I'm proud of you, Michela. All right. So Michela, do you want to do this where we're shooting out questions and everyone answer them?
I mean, you're the boss.
Oh,
How would you do it?
All right.
How would you hired me, so.
True. So we're going to, we'll fire off questions and you guys can, each jump on. Now, these are all hypotheticals. None of these things happen yet. However, in the future, we're trying to be, we're trying to go global, no pun intended. We're trying to be big time. So we're slowly building it up. So first question, this is just deals with the availability. So you get a call, you have a busy schedule, you have a busy week, you get a call from us and it's just like, hey, listen, you have to fly to Lithuania like tonight and you have to go interview this game and you have to watch this game. You have to fly to Lithuania. You have to stay there in this hotel for 4 days and then you fly home with a story. Are you game?
I'm down. I've never left the country yet, so that would be an awesome experience. Yeah.
That's cool.
I think I'm definitely on board with that too, just because, you say Lithuania, that might not be the most appealing option that you could have heard on the other end of the line, but that opportunity could then lead to another opportunity, which could lead to something bigger. So anything can happen. So
nice.
Yeah, I agree with sorry, Brentero.
Elena, go ahead.
Okay, kind of going off what Camden said, I mean, you never know who you're going to meet, especially in Lithuania. I mean, you can network anywhere. You can network at the McDonald's. You can network in Lithuania. So I think you just have to take advantage of every opportunity you're given.
Yeah, I like what Camden and Elena said too. Take every single advantage that you can, though. And going to Lithuania, it's obviously probably the four of us probably never been there though. So just the fact going over there, interviewing some players, boosting up your confidence, gaining more experience, practicing, talking to players who might not speak the same language as you, like it's probably a good experience.
Lithuania was definitely so you guys kind of, you hit on it. I chose Lithuania because I thought it would just be odd enough. It's not, it's like, it's kind of drab and gray. If I was just like, hey guys, you're going to get whisked off to Spain and you're like, see ya, private plane, cool. But Lithuania is a little different. John, you got one?
Yeah.
All right, go for it. We'll rapid fire.
If you could have your dream job anywhere in the industry, any job, anywhere, what's your job?
I personally would want to run the Twitter for the MLB. I'm a big social media girl, I kind of grew up in this day and age of social media. I just think it's so funny, and I feel like I would crack up just looking at everybody like tweet at you, and sometimes you can reply. I mean, obviously you have to be polite and stuff, but I think it'd be really cool, personally.
My dream job is to work for the Steelers or the Pirates. They've been my two favorite teams since I was a little kid. Bleed black and yellow. That would just be the best thing possible.
Doing what, Dom?
Probably marketing or doing like in-house type of production stuff.
You can go ahead, Brentero.
Okay, so of course, like every day is different. People might not expect to do what they're doing now, though. But as of right now, I would say having my own talk show host, as I said earlier, with being like Colin Cowherd, saying whatever you want. He bring in like a bunch of cool guests, though, assuming that I become high enough to like get these famous athletes and coaches to come onto my show, though. So I would choose that as my dream job.
Nice. I like it. All right.
Wait.
Next question. Go ahead.
Cam's got to go.
Oh, Cam, shit. Or shoot. Go ahead.
No, it's good. I would probably want to work for the media team of any pro sports organization. The Sixers would be the dream, but just being able to work for that and get to be able to interact with players and coaches and staff and be able to ask them the questions that, like your Adam Scheffner, and the questions they're not going to ask, the questions that they actually want to answer. I think just to be able to build that relationship with those players beyond just being a person of the media, actually being able to have a relationship with them would be a dream come true.
Super cool. Bob Cooney. So Bob Cooney, we should have Bob Cooney on the show. Bob Cooney is a good friend of mine, but he's not like overseas, but he's on 97.5, the morning show. He was the beat writer for the Sixers for a long time. But when he was with the Sixers, I kind of worked out with it, how to work out with the Sixers. So I would go down and I kind of knew a few people. So I would be able to go down and sit in the media, just like talk to Bob the whole time. But it's like, it is a cool thing. Cause I remember I was like, this is freaking awesome. People are like, hey, how are you? And it's just like, you kind of are treated like royalty. I love that. All right. Next question. So this is more just a hypothetical. If you ran a social media account, would you run it more like Wendy's, or would you run it more like, just politically correct?
I just want to say, like, these questions, guys, I know I'm usually the media manager. These are all Kevin and John. I didn't handle any of these.
Go ahead, Cam.
I think for that, obviously you have to be politically correct in certain ways as to where, you don't make people mad and stuff. But I think, with how generations are changing and stuff, that's what social media is kind of becoming. So I think I would run it like a mix of both, when you can get those jokes in there, when you can tweet at another team's Twitter and poke fun back and forth and stuff like that. I think that stuff's always great, but obviously you have to keep it within the boundaries.
Yeah.
So for the hockey team I work for, I actually get to do social media. So I was doing the Twitter a couple weeks ago, and the one team called us the bad guys, and I tweeted back, hey, we saw that. Just kind of like, I think there's a fine line between like funny banter. That's acceptable for sure, but I don't think you want to be too casual, because then people won't take you seriously.
Nice.
Yeah, you want to keep adapting, changing, moving with how social media is moving. And I think Wendy's does a great job of that. Obviously, like Camden said, you need to stay a little politically correct, but never hurts to poke fun at things.
Yeah, Elena, Camden, Dom all hit that on the money. You gotta sometimes make some jokes though, but you gotta know like when to not make people angry and all those. So yeah, I would say more in between.
Nice. I like it. We got a good group. You guys are killing this so far. This is going to be interesting to have to decide this whole entire thing. We're going to have some talks.
Well, I'm looking at the clock, and I'm looking like at my script and stuff, and I'm like, they're going to have to come back because we're already an hour in, and I'm like, oh my God, we only got to 50% of the content. Like, so,
John, throw another question at them.
So you have a production meeting, and you have to think far into the future. Someday you may have a family. Maybe your daughter wants to play video games with you, and you could play video games with your daughter, or do you go to the production meeting?
You'd have to go to the production meeting, I would think, right? Like, assuming that we make good money going to this production meeting, though, you just got to think to yourself, like, well, even I will still see my daughter at times, though, maybe no more than I would want to, though. But like, I would be making enough money to know that I can provide her a good house, provide her good food, knowing that the money can go into her college fund someday. So even though like you want to see her more often, you're just thinking of the road ahead in which her path to success could be increase.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, your job's paying for her video games and such. So I think it's important to, make time for her, but I think you'd have to go to the meeting in that sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of saying the same thing. Work first, but it's like work 1A, family 1B. You know, they're both very important, but one has to come first, and the one that pays the bills is obviously going to come first. And this is one production meeting, so if we're working in sports, most likely we have a pretty good off season in whatever sport that is, so she can get the work in 2K and Madden or during the off season for weeks on end.
Yeah, family comes first, but is she gonna care more about me playing with a video game with her that night or paying for college tuition in a couple years? I think the job's very important, but family's always first, of course.
Dom, I was trying to read you. I was trying to see if I was like, is he going to go prices right here and just kind of, $1 more and be like, no, fuck that, family first. Let's go. And everyone's like, whoa, what just happened? All of a sudden, everyone's like, whoa, some shit got real. Sorry.
These are all answers from people with no children.
It's just funny because, guys, a couple of weeks ago this happened. Me and Michela are sitting on a meeting at like 8 o'clock, and we're like, where's Kev? And we're texting him. He's like, shit, I'm playing video games with my daughter. Can we go in like an hour?
Yeah, it was rough. Liv,
we're like super like serious about it. Good for you, but it was
it was like
I wanted to bust Kevin's balls about it.
Yeah. As soon as you said it, I was like, son of a bitch. But it's crazy because like I feel like I'm similar. When you have work and there's something like really big, but like that Bruce Arians thing, that was crazy. Do you guys see that article where he said he's just like, if you miss like a recital or something because you were at work, I will fire you on the spot. Like, hell no. You put your family, you don't miss things for your kids. But like video games, yeah. But like that, I just feel like, yeah, it's tough. Especially, listen, my daughter's 8. That's like a rough age. You guys, you're so young that you probably remember when you were 8. I have no idea what happened when I was 8. But it's a tough age where she just wants, I'm surprised she's not outside my door right now banging on it. Her and the dog. Christ.
And then she sometimes hears things that Kevin says that are not quite PC, and then asks.
Yeah. They're not Duquesneable.
They're not Duquesneable.
Not Duquesneable. Yeah. Well, I was going to ask one last question, and then I was going to send these guys off because I am their general manager, and I look at the clock and I get worried because I end every what do I say at the end of every DSTV meeting? I want to see if anyone remembers.
Do your homework, get some sleep.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I'm just looking at the clock for you guys. So my last question for you guys would be, if you only get to interview one athlete for the rest of your career, dead or alive, who would it be and why? I know you guys think I'm tough when you go on campus. Now you're in my court.
I'm really excited about this one.
Oh, that's so hard.
Dead or alive? That's where it kicks you.
Right now, so I say Cam goes.
I would probably say right now he's kind of taken over my favorite athlete of all time. I'd probably go with Ben Simmons, just because, like I said earlier, being able to build that relationship with not being the naggy media who's just trying to get a lot out of you. Ben Simmons gets so much garbage for, just not being able to shoot the ball when, there's so much more to his game that's so undervalued. So just things like being able to value things like that, being able to be close with him in that and give him the credit that he deserves in that respect.
So my person, it's an unpopular opinion, but not like a huge fan of his teams he's been on or who he's associated with, but I do Rob Gronkowski. I just feel like he's just such an energetic guy. I feel like I'd never be bored. I feel like he'd always have something interesting to tell me, and I would just be very interested in hear what he has to say.
I would say Roberto Clemente. He's a Pittsburgh icon. Very generous soul. He passed away way too young. Of course, he dealt with a lot of the integration of minorities into major leagues. So that'd be very interesting to hear about his time in the MLB.
For me, I would have to say LeBron James. People might say Michael Jordan's better than him and all that, and I understand that. But what LeBron James has that almost every professional American athlete doesn't, fame, he can post anything on social media. He could say like, go to Dairy Queen, and then next thing you know, Dairy Queen stock markets go up, their sales go up. I mean, you just think about what he's done with like Black Lives Matter, for example, though. Just the fact that he's gotten a whole bunch of people to like be involved in that movement. Everything he does, people talk about it. He could be walking down the street picking up a doll for a little girl, and people will find a way to make news of that. Compared to like other NBA players, not to like diss on them, maybe like you could say like TJ McConnell of the Pacers, Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns, if they pick up a doll for like a little girl, probably not going to be talked about as much as like LeBron James, though. They call him King James for a reason, one of the highest paid athletes in America, and just simply just knowing like what's it like knowing that so many people look up to him, and some people you might say even worship him, to be honest with you, though. So that's who I would choose.
That's so funny you said that, Brantero, because when we were trying, Kevin and John, remember we were trying to do, all right, everyone take over Instagram for a day and just go through your day and like put a bunch of polls and stuff. Me and my boyfriend will not have Taco Tuesday because we think it's so annoying that LeBron tried to like trademark that phrase.
Yeah.
So like, you know, Cody will say like, oh, in this house we do tacos any day of the week except Tuesday. That's it. So it was a Wednesday when I took over the Instagram. I posted, I was like, do you think LeBron should have gotten the trademark? And it was unanimous. Like everyone who voted on the Instagram poll was like, no, what the fuck? Like they were so like, that's so funny that you said that. I think similar to what Elena said about Gronk, it's the charisma. You know, they could suck as an athlete and they would probably still be well liked because they're relatable to an extent and they're not afraid to like show their personalities. So
I'm changing my answer to Mike Tyson. I mean, the scariest man alive, most dominant man alive, one of the craziest men alive. That would be a fascinating conversation.
That would be a task.
I wouldn't be able to sound
scary. It would be terrifying, but awesome.
He would talk like this and I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. I thought he was like joking when I was a kid. I was like, why is he doing that? And they're like, that's how he talks. And I'm like, no, why is he doing that? Because I'm like this big, huge, scary guy. And my dad's like, ask him. And I'm like, all right. Get knocked out. So this is cool. Michela, what do we got? This has been like a really, really cool. I think too, I like just like talking to four new faces, for you know, young people who have so much bright futures in front of them. And you guys like really, this was cool. I'm glad you guys came on because it seemed like this was like enjoyable for us. It was enjoyable for you. This is a cool experience.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Both of you like doing this, you know, because I see all of you so much on a regular basis. You know, it's just so nice to be surrounded by talented people who want to do the work, who want to get there. You know, it's enriching to my life. So you guys are awesome. You killed it like I knew you would. And we'll tag like all your independent podcasts and blogs and stuff. We'll definitely plug you guys on social media because you deserve the recognition. You know, anything you do outside of like a regular curriculum is awesome. For sure.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it was an honor.
This is really cool.
Sleep, do your homework, whatever order it happens in, go do it.
Awesome. You guys rock. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
See ya.
See ya.
Go Sixers.
Yes. Good call, Sam. That was cool.
I'm glad it was well. I'm glad we did that. And like I said, like we could have done another. I was just watching the clock and I was like, we're not even 50% agenda. I was like, let's jump a little bit. But they're great kids. Like they know what they're talking about and they know what they want. And I think that's what, again, it enriches my life. And it's like to know that that's going to be the next generation on ESPN or next generation of Barstool. Like it's powerful.
Yeah, that is super cool. It's fun. And it's one of those things where I was trying to take notes and stuff. And I'm like, they all seem like really into it. So that was a cool thing. I just felt like they were like into it. They were just cool. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, who would fit into what we do? Like our our schedule, our show, what we, what's going on the best, like what personality would mesh, who would know, who would have this information. I thought, and it's like, I'm like, how it's hard to choose between the four of them because they all had such good analysis. They were all really intelligent young people. How are we going to do this? We're not going to do it in the air, are we?
I missed the production meeting the other night. When are we doing? Are we going to do this? Should we do this on the hold for one?
Ooh.
Monday, announce it?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
A couple days.
All right, so.
Yeah, I feel like I have to mull this over. This is like pretty intense situation. I don't know how the guys from like, American Idol and stuff, that's just like, you have to make a decision about this person right now. That's freaking hard to be like, you have all these kids and you're just like, I want them all. That's not an option, is it, Michela? Can we all come on here?
So
we're going to air this on Friday the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll hold for one on the 8th. And that'll announce who the person is.
Yeah.
Your assistant co-host there.
Intern for the day. What else can we get them to do? Like, and I didn't want to ask them. I was like, what else can we get them to do during that day? Be like, hey guys, just so you know, you're interning on the show, but you have a ton of shit to do that day. Like we're loading you up.
We're gone are the days where like we can be like, yo, go get us lunch.
I was about to say, do you guys have the Dunkin' app? Because you have to order all of us coffee to our own respective houses.
Yeah, I was going to say, have it sent to all of our places all in the Northeast.
Oh, I'm getting a list of stuff right now. It's going to be awesome.
Well,
Michela, this is fun.
For sure. I'm really glad it worked out. And, like I said at the beginning, there's so much more that goes into sports than the athletes. Absolutely. I've been the person at my internship mopping the sweat off the court in my nice khakis and doing all that. And so I think they deserve a little bit of time to brag about themselves and a little bit of time for the heat, the professional heat. So
I like their questions. I like how they ask questions. I like what they talked about. They all did. You, like you said, you hit on this. They all had their own unique topic. I don't know if they like all discussed beforehand. I was like, how did none of you have the same exact thing? You had all these questions and like none of them were the same. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, because what they do is all of them who are in the sports media, we have a segment on DSTV called the Press Box, and it's just any kind of sports that they want to touch on. So they have a group chat, but I won't call collusion. I'll just friendly competition, making sure they don't step on each other's toes, and I totally respect that. If that's what they did, I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm big scary boss lady, so they don't tell me everything. I know they don't.
Me and Kev don't tell you everything either, so
That was a lot of fun.
He got me today who was like, I think I messed up. But what did he say to me?
I was like, I think I'm the bearer of bad news because I was like, John, you had sent the thing over and you're just like, here's Maria's stuff. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, John, guess what? That episode's gonna air in like 2 weeks. The intern episode, you need to get this prepped by Friday. I was like, I'm sorry.
You got it.
You're like, fine.
Editing.
Yeah. I like those kids. I want them all to win. I want them all on the show.
They're good kids.
Yeah. And then we're all gonna fly to Lithuania.
All together.
All together.
Well,
Big happy family.
If COVID gets under control, we'll get you guys out here.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, I would definitely do that.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, this is fun, Michela. Are we wrapping it up?
I'm just looking at the clock because I know when it's just the three of us, it goes dangerously long.
It goes dangerously long. So everyone, again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Elena, Brentero, Cam, Dom, for hopping on the pod tonight and, auditioning for Who Wants to Be an Intern. Michela, great job with the questions. Great job with the organization. You facilitated masterfully. Great job with that. Jon, again, sound, producing, asking questions, doing your thing perfectly once again. And then me screwing up and saying like and cursing too much. That's our show. This is so cool. You guys rock. Thanks to our guests, and we'll see you guys next time. Overseas Famous Podcast. Out.
Answers on the mirror for me. That's why I pick and choose. I don't get you confused. I got
got a small circle. I'm not with different crews. We walk the same path, but got on different shoes. Live in the same building, but we got different views. I got a couple cars I never get to use. Don't like my women single, I like my chicks in twos. And these days, all the girls is down the road. I hit the strip club and all them bitches find a pole. Plus I've been sipping, so this shit is moving kinda slow. Just tell my girl to tell a friend that it's time to go.
Now tell me how you love it. You know you're at the top and only heaven's right above it. We own. It's young money, motherfucker. If you ain't running with it, run from it, motherfucker. Alright, now somebody show some money in this bitch. And I got my bees with me like some honey in this bitch. You dig? I got my gun in my boot purse and I don't bust back because I shoot first. Meet me on the fresh train. Yes, I'm in the building. You just on the list of guest names. And all of my riders do not give a X games. Guns turn you boys into sex chains.